Okay, everybody, great. So this session, as you can see from the title, is CISO Perspectives on Protecting Transportation Organizations from Identity-Based Attacks. So my guest here is Rafi Khan. Rafi is the CISO of the New Jersey Transit Authority, Transit Corporation. So it's very interesting. He and I were talking beforehand, and we share a mutual fondness for the NotPetya story of the Russian cyber weapon attack in May of 2017.
June 27, 2017.
See, he's already up on me for this. And I would also note that before Rafi picked up this role, he was also the CISO for edible arrangements, right?
CIO and CISO.
CIO and the CISO
roles, yeah.
for edible arrangements, something that I really appreciate.
We ate a lot of fruit, and once in a while on a stick, and once in a while the fruit hit the fan. But
that's true. So obviously, what we're talking about critical infrastructure here, and a couple of statistics for the critical infrastructure. So the transportation industry reported $3.75 million average cost of a data breach in 2022, which maps pretty well to what Alex was saying earlier this morning. And I thought that this was fascinating, that the transportation sector had 100% increase in ransomware activity every quarter in the US in 2022. 100% quarter over quarter. So clearly, critical infrastructure is one of the top markets that's being attacked right now. One of the reasons I believe, or one of the ways I summarize this sort of thing, is what I call capitalism without a conscience. If you wonder what a threat actor is going to do, not necessarily a nation state, but cybercrime is going to do, it's driven by pure capitalism. How can I get the biggest return in the shortest amount of time? So you go to places where people will die, or trains will crash, or people won't be able to move in order to have that happen, which is where critical infrastructure comes into place. So Rafi, explain to everybody a little bit about the New Jersey Transit and the scale of it and what it handles.
Sure, it's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to be speaking to my colleagues here. Opinion disclosure, anything that I say is of my own personal opinion, not that of New Jersey Transit. The New Jersey Transit is the country's largest state transit agency by miles. We have 5,325 miles of services. We cover New Jersey, we cover New York, and also Pennsylvania. The Northeast Corridor is the busiest train corridor, rail corridor in the country. We carry 1 million passengers a day pre-COVID, and we're almost reaching that on weekdays. So that's a good 275 million people a year. As far as critical infrastructure is concerned, it is one of them. We are directed by TSA in terms of all the different cybersecurity requirements. There's quite a few directives that me and my team have to be available to follow, and also to be available 24/7, 365. And we have to report any incident within 24 hours of knowing it.
What about your IT infrastructure? What does that look like?
My CIO, a good 4 years ago, had a cloud-first strategy, and that was pretty astute. Also, that right before COVID, he threw out all the desktops and bought in laptops, so that really was a saving grace. So there's a lot of, in terms of, as a team, we have to be forward-thinking, understanding what the dynamics of 6 months from now or 1 year from now will be. So we are mostly cloud. We have hybridized. We've got OCI, we've got GCP, we've got Azure, we've got AWS. Depending on the specialty of that particular cloud. For example, GCP, we use a lot of data analytics to provision dashboards and other intelligence. Azure, we have O365 and so forth.
And what's sort of the unique challenges that you see around identity security during this multi-cloud organization?
I think that's quite a few. First of all, we started off with making sure that we have MFA'd. We have about 12,000 employees, and understanding the dynamics of different folks accessing least privileged access is definitely one of the areas. We're looking at third-party integrations. How do we secure the service accounts? And that's also credentialing. Our biggest vector in terms of threat is credential theft. So identity credentialing is foremost top of mind. If you were to use a yardstick, we have around 7 million intrusion attempts into our systems a day.
Wow.
Yeah. These are not successful attempts. These are just poking and knocking at our systems. So based on that, we want to make sure that credentialing is really measured and provisioned to people who have a need for it.
Right, and these identities are spread across multiple cloud service providers.
That's a correct statement, yes, and SSO and all that good stuff.
Right, okay. So you have, and I'm making an assumption here that many of the people in the audience are identity infrastructure, they're knowledge worker infrastructure, but they're not physical moving trains, operational infrastructure. So your part of your job is, for this time, literally to keep the trains moving.
That's a correct statement, but maybe an overstatement, because we've got so many skilled folks who obviously manage the operational side of it.
Right.
But on the bits and bytes side of it, yes, we have a good, we need good visibility for it.
Right, and this is about securing essentially an IoT type environment. I just lost it again. There we go. This is, how you use cloud services to secure an IoT environment and make sure, and we talked about this also, is the regulatory framework. What are the different some of the frameworks that you have to follow?
Well, we have the typical standard, which is the foundational standard. That's the NIST framework, right? 800-53. And then along with that, we also use, we are also ISO 27001:2022 certified. So we just got recertified recently. So those frameworks allow us to identify any gaps that we may have, any areas of corrective actions, and these are all continuous iterations to make sure that systems are never the same. Technology and the bad guys are not sitting down twiddling their thumbs, so we want to make sure that we have those frameworks. Recently, APTA, we have the Association of American Public Transportation Association. He's mic'd up. And based on that, that's an association that most public transportation companies are member of. A group of CISOs put their heads together for about a year in defining what the operations technology cybersecurity maturity framework, OTCMF, that was recently adopted by TSA for the transit agencies. I'm fortunate to be one of the co-authors. The point being is that a lot of these smaller transportation companies may not have as robust as a cybersecurity or IT department as larger transit systems. So based on that, we provision them a cybersecurity maturity framework from 0 to 5. So you can do all your measurements and then look at what your current state is, and then look towards what you want to be at a future state. And so if you're at 0, you want to seek towards becoming a 1, give a time frame to it. So all those steps are all laid out. And that took a whole good year, 1 year of maybe at least 10 or so CISOs of transit systems to piece it all together and it was vetted out by TSA and other industry specialists, and it's published now.
So now smaller transportation systems have the ability to have a framework that they can follow to increase their security, their IT maturity.
It is. They do have one, and I think it's really, really helpful because based on, you want to start by, if you have a cookie to eat, you eat a crumb at a time, and those are the 5 different iterations that you want to be. That's a correct statement, yes.
Right, okay. So in wrestling with this, and as you say, there are identity attacks, to penetrate that, do you feel that it's getting any better in terms of your ability to secure against that, especially in your complex environment?
Any CISO claims that would be, I would cringe if I say so. No, it's always, someone else is always looking towards iterating to be something better, so that you can poke a hole in it and attack us. The apex attackers are still not attributing to the people, but the country state, and that's China and Russia.
Do you feel that nation state attacks are that's something that you have to, is definitely on, that you feel like you're definitely on their radar?
Absolutely, our systems show that. Yeah.
Can you provide any recommendations that transportation agencies can use to close some of their gaps based on your experience? I know you said you've put together a framework, and can you make any suggestions within that framework? There's always the Pareto analysis. What are the things that you can do to get to take the biggest steps to secure a transportation agency?
I like the 80-20 rule. So absolutely. So we're fortunate also for the past 2 years or so, TSA has created mandates. It's 1580-21, 1580-22 based on the year. The point being is that they have now required transit agencies, and now they're also including freight operators, to follow specific guidelines. Those guidelines include assessments, and we've already provided our assessments, and all people transit agencies will have or have had already provisioned that. So those assessments basically will measure where you're at today, and perhaps touch points on the OTCMF, that Cybersecurity Maturity Framework, on operations technology. So that helps a lot of these agencies to measure themselves. Now, other steps, look at what you have in terms of you don't know what you don't know. So if you have a playbook, those who are in the services, if you read history books, playbooks are only defined by first contact with the enemy. Right. And then it just goes.
The Mike Tyson playbook.
Exactly. When you get punched in the face, and the playbook's all changed. That's the gist of it, right? So if you have an opportunity to at least have that playbook, but understand that within that particular event that becomes an incident, your playbook will change, and therefore don't fret it. You just have to have different versions of playbooks. I forget now who mentioned it. I think Alex did. That it's good to have messaging ready. In other words, share that with your communications people if you have a division in your company. That if it's an X attack, this is what you would say. If it's a Y attack, this is what you would say. And by the way, I had my interns Google that, collect all of that, and created a pretty compelling, about maybe 10 different attacks for the past 10 years or so. Sorry, 61 different. It's all news, right? You can just grab that and scrape that from the internet. And what did each company say? So use that, and then frame that within your company, and then you can just have that messaging ready for you. Because going back to during the battle, you don't want to practice during a battle. You want to have tabletop exercise, which is another thing that I want to recommend. Make sure that you have a tabletop exercise that covers a whole different facets, right? Not just a technology part of it, but also legal, cybersecurity liability insurance. And do they have another legal? Hey, let's go back to the NotPetya thing. Merck, the pharmaceutical company,
Right.
just won in May 15th, I think,
Yes.
$1.4 billion back from the insurance company. So they lost about 800, and I think ancillary expenses were another 400.
Right. Yeah. They were originally denied coverage of the NotPetya incident because your insurance company said it was an act of war.
It was an act of war, and the courts did say no.
But it took them 6 years.
Yes. So if you're a small company, you're out of business. And 1.4 bill is not small change. Yeah.
And even to Merck, that's something
Even
that
to
they
Merck.
notice in their bottom line.
Right. So the point being is that even cyber liability insurance is not a cakewalk. Doesn't mean that, hey, I'm just going to call my folks and everything's all. There's so many different nuances, and if you don't dot your I's and cross the T's, it will not be easy. If they can be your adversary if things go sour, and as we see in the case of Merck.
Right. Right. Okay.
So legal, then you have executive, and then if it was a ransomware attack, what's your company policy, to pay or not to pay? Okay, you say to pay, right? If it's a foreign actor, there is a foreign, I forget what the term is from the government. It's a Foreign Transaction Act something that you cannot send money overseas to a state actor. Right? So again, where do you draw the fine line? Let's just go to the liability of the money part. If you were to pay, then there may be double extortion or triple extortion. Double means you already paid them, they give you the decryption key, but they still sell your data on the dark web. Right? Triple would be while you're handling that scenario, they do a DDoS attack. They'll have at it. So
Capitalism without conscience.
absolutely, that's that one there. And then there are other people. The bad actors seem to also what do you call that? No,
I am apparently burning through mics.
you're not dropping a mic. That's like,
No. I'm about to, though.
but there's honor among thieves, or there's no honor among thieves, right? So going back to it's a business model. It's ransomware as a business is what they're selling. So the triple extortion really will get to the heart of your ability to digest that. Meanwhile, what if you did not pay? Your customer data is dumped into the dark web, and now your customers sue you. Why didn't you pay? You knew my data was out, and I'm going to have a class action suit for you. So legal is so critical. So now our jobs are not just the bits and bytes. Our jobs are strategic, logistics. As we talked about how long it takes, I forgot the previous speaker, 2 months to cover an insurance company in terms of just the forensics, not just remediation. I believe Kevin Mandiant said that it takes 270-something days of Mandiant security, 270 days to cover from A to Z in terms of remediating. And that is if you have your dwell time known. We talk about dwell time.
Right.
Dwell time is, the shorter the dwell time, the better for you. The longer the dwell time, they have all the time to know more of the systems. So ransomware dwell time has gone up from 5 days to 7 days. Non-ransomware attacks have come down from 19 days to 15 days, some shorter period of time.
It's interesting because the numbers are all over the map for dwell time.
Yeah.
IBM published
IBM is something
widely
else, yeah.
said 207 days.
Yes. Yeah.
And Sophos was 20-something to 45 days. So
Mandiant is it's jumped up, the ransomware ones, right? So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
5 to 9 days now. So, but the point being is that at least what you can glean from this data is what's in it for you, if you want to look at it from that
Right.
perspective. What's in it for me is that, hey, now dwell time is the moment that it goes in and the moment that you discover that it went in. So, and that time is really key. So based on the dwell time, you have to have your playbook ready. You have to have your executive team ready. You have to have your legal team ready. You have cyber liability security insurance ready. You have to have maybe a Bitcoin account ready if you choose to, right? So all of that. And then you have to make sure that you're not breaking any laws at the same time. Let's not go to where the Uber CISO is right now. He's convicted. But you can read the story about how the conviction is and all that.
Right.
And just a few weeks ago, the CISO of SolarWinds and the CFO of SolarWinds have been notified by SEC. So it's not TSA. It's not. So all the three-letter agencies are keeping an eye on your work. So it can be punitive if you're not doing your job right.
Yep.
They've been notified by SEC that they're being investigated.
Yeah.
So the job of a CISO is not a cakewalk. It can be stressful if you don't have a calm demeanor.
Got it. Well, thank you, Rafi. Thanks for the insight. It's interesting to hear what it's all about in a large transportation industry that most of us don't have any agency, or that most of us don't have any insight into. So,
My pleasure. Thank you.
thanks for your time.
Appreciate it.